Ladies and gentlemen, sit back and enjoy a real treat tonight on Sportswire Radio because we have a man that is the definition of a living legend. When I think about the wrestling scene in Sunderland, when I think about everything that this man has done, he is the definition of Sunderland, and what he's done in the wrestling world has taken him literally all around the world,
Yeah,
in places like Mexico, Finland, certainly all throughout the UK, and even where I'm from, the United States of America. He may pack a punch and sting like a bee, but also in the ring, he certainly makes Bret the Hitman Hart blush a little bit. He might even inspire those that liked ECW and ECW legends like Jerry Lynn. And he's accomplished pretty much there is everything you could in this sport that we all love. And he was trained by some of the biggest legends in the UK, such as Screwface Ahmed, Rampage Brown, and a guy that you've probably heard of, whether you like him or not. The living legend himself, Marty Jones, and especially those World of Sport days, we certainly think back and remember all of that. And he's going to talk about all of that and some. But most importantly, a match coming up here this Saturday, less than 48 hours from now, to honor a brother, a friend, a mentor, and somebody in CCW that we all love and miss dearly. In Mr. Carnage, Sean Duffy, we honor his legacy Saturday with his match coming up for, oh, by the way, the Carnage Hardcore Championship against a man we just inducted into our Hall of Fame, Jam Dog. He's going to talk about all of that and anything else he wants to, because I promise you, you're going to tell all your mates that this is going to be an interview for the ages, and I can assure you, this is going to set the tables not only for this Saturday's CCW sold out once again Carnage 3, but tomorrow's emotional day on Sportswire Radio when we induct a friend we all miss dearly in Mr. Carnage, Sean Duffy. Ladies and gentlemen, I can go on and on and on and on and on. I probably will go on and on and on and on and on about our guest tonight, but it's now time to introduce him and give him that introduction that so many people that have come on Sportswire Radio have gotten, including a couple of people he might even know, like, Dean Allmark and the natural-born fighter, R.P. Davis. But ladies and gentlemen, let's get right to it and give him that introduction. I guarantee you he's probably never gotten, even in his own decorated career. So with that, wait for it. Further ado, here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show. They call him my friend, I guaranteed you hadn't got that introduction before, and you probably won't get it again.
I tell you what, Michael Buffer's got nothing on you, brother.
Well, he doesn't have the mutton chops. He doesn't have the long hair, and he doesn't have a lot of other things. But also, before we get to you, I actually want to say hello to somebody that's actually tuned in. I'm shocked that they're tuned in real time. Actually, my mother. So we want to say hello to, obviously, my mother here, who's actually tuned in.
Oh, how you doing, mother?
Very nice. I certainly forget about you, Sugar Ray Taylor. We'll have to bring my mother on the screen and just do the interview with her and say, no, I'm only kidding. Obviously. I definitely want to thank her for tuning in. Thank you to everybody that's
I always love giving respect to people's mothers.
Yes, absolutely, and definitely. Listen, I wouldn't be on the air, right, if it wasn't for my mother, because I wouldn't be
Of
born, right?
course.
So obviously, and she's got some pipes too. She actually does some singing. I can't sing though, so we're gonna certainly not talk about singing of my ilk. But Sugar Ray Taylor, it is an absolute honor to have you
Really?
here live on Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters, and there is a lot to talk about here tonight. But I do want to get to it because in the current events, there has been a lot said about you here on this platform over the past week. Obviously, last night we heard from Dustin Hart, a man that knew our fallen brother and mentor and leader of CCW, but also leader of this sport. And Mr. Carnage, Sean Duffy, Dustin Hart, our Light in the Dark champion, he had said a lot last night. And certainly your opponent the day prior, Jam Dog, the Carnage Hardcore Champion, our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, also said plenty. So, Sugar Ray Taylor, you may be a living legend, but I turn it over to you now and give you the floor. And what would you like to say after some of the comments you've heard from Dustin Hart and your opponent coming up here this Saturday, less than 48 hours from now in Jam Dog?
Right. See, I'm a modest guy, and I never refer to myself as a living legend. That's Terry Funk is a living legend, or was a living legend.
Yeah. We wish he would be a living legend. Obviously, we
Yeah,
still miss him dearly. Terry Funk. I was just watching his match the other day because it was the 27th anniversary of his match, which was supposed to be his final match against Bret Hart in
yeah,
1997 on the Funk Ranch out there in Amarillo, Texas.
yeah. Well, Brett, Terry, and Marty, and
Brett
well,
wrestled
those
Marty
three,
Jones, if I'm not mistaken.
those are my favorites.
Yep, and Brett wrestled Marty Jones once upon a time. I'm almost very
Indeed,
certain of it.
indeed, and a Dynamite Kid as well.
Of course, here for us, he was the standard bearer in the entire sport around the world, so no question.
Will you be watching on Saturday or not?
So I can't. I will be watching. I can't tell you how I'll be watching, but I will actually be able to watch the match. I won't be able to quite watch it in real time. I don't want to tip my hand, but there will be a way I'll be watching the match. I can assure you it may not be in real time, but I can guarantee you by the weekend is out, I'll have watched your match. So if you want to come back on and talk about it, I will certainly have watched
Well,
your match.
you'll see a lot of similarities in there of
Okay, so
those three.
for sure, and I've watched you a little bit in the ring already, but I know you're a modest man. I know obviously you said just before, living legend. It's only reserved for the all-time greats, but you're coming to CCW though for the first time, and obviously we saw the video on the CCW social media pages where, obviously you talked about Mr. Carnage, you talked about honoring his legacy, you wanted to do it in the respectful way, but you're coming here for the first time, and it's an audience, a devoted fan base, a place kind of similar to where you've been in many places throughout your career that doesn't know you. So, what can we expect from you in Jam Dog?
Well, see, with me, even though I was a local guy and a local draw in Sunderland, I preferred to travel outside the area. Manchester, Leeds, Oldham, London, everywhere else, Finland, all those types of places. So it might take a little for the crowd to warm to me because Jam is so established.
He's beloved there. I mean, the fans, they have such a relationship with Jam there. And
Yeah,
he has this music that he comes out to, and people kind of want to dance to it. They want to just
yeah,
jump around, and the kids love him. And he's got this, unique look. And he's also got a story right now. And his story is that he's now going on 20 years of being a wrestler, 20 years
yeah.
in this sport. And he's
But
never been a world champion. And in a way, you're
he
kind of
deserves it.
he definitely deserves it, but you're kind of the fork in the road right now because I said it on the show Tuesday. Sure, he could be focusing on Prince Dagan, of course, the world underground champion here in CCW, but I said it last night and I said it Tuesday. Jam Dog has never faced somebody like you. You have traveled all around the world. you have learned from some of the greatest that have ever graced this sport. You have done things that the CCW locker room, like Mr. Jam Dog's a part of, and the fans have never seen. This might be a bigger test for him this Saturday at Carnage 3 than even what he's going to face at Miners Mania less than 6 weeks ago coming up against Prince Dagan.
Well, the thing is, right, when I come in, a lot of people might be wondering why this guy's first match is he getting a title shot. But even though I haven't paid my dues in CCW, I've paid my dues elsewhere. And it could just take that little bit of, eye off the ball for Jam to slip. It'll take a lot, but, because he's been around so much. But I'm of the ilk that, I can take advantage quickly. So it could go either way. But whatever happens, I will have ultimate respect for him before and ultimate respect after.
Oh, for sure. And listen, there's definitely also a lot of heavy hearts here that are going to be out there coming up this Saturday. But I would actually say, conversely, you absolutely deserve a title shot. You absolutely deserve to be here in CCW and wrestle some of the best because of what you've done in this sport. I mean, it's one thing to have wrestled here and had a couple matches there. And, to me, dudes, I mean, you are one of the pound for pound best wrestlers we're probably ever going to see in CCW. I mean, listen, I said it on Tuesday's show, especially. Sure, we've had Davey Blaze on here. I've interviewed Davey Blaze, Johnny Storm, a man you certainly know very well. We've had some big names come here in CCW, but we haven't seen anything like Sugar Ray Taylor. Not only do you pack a punch, technically pound for pound in the ring, we've never seen anything like you. So the way I see it, you've absolutely earned anything you want because of who you are and what you've done.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I'm very modest and I shy away from your past accomplishments because to me, you're only as good as your last match.
Sure.
So, and I mean, do you want to get into my history with Mr. Sean Duffy?
I definitely do want to get to that in a few minutes for sure. I have a couple things that I want to play or put up on the screen toward that, and I definitely want to come to that, but I do want to get to some comments here first because people do want to say hello to you. I want to say hello to the man that very well could be refereeing your match. So it's always good to say hello to our referees. Our referee, Lee Milligan. Lee, how you doing?
Lee, how you doing?
Great job. And Lee, by the way, I want to give Lee a big shout out because Lee actually looks like that in real life. So if you get a chance to watch CCW, you can do that on their YouTube channel. And all the links here below because I've actually put it up on the screen right below for people can tune in and follow. And CCW is closing in on just about 250 subscribers. So if you're here now and you haven't subscribed, all you have to do is go to CCW UK Northeast or just put a search in for Colory Championship Wrestling and hit that sub button. So I want to make sure everybody does that here for tuning in.
Just look for the black and white shirt.
And, of course, the man that many people know, that is Mr. James Barris. Mr. Barris is our owner of Colory Championship Wrestling, although he's having some troubles these days with one Alfie nerd in the voice of the Colory. But he's also in our Hall of Fame, by the way. But how you doing here, Mr. Barris? I want to say hello to Mr. OK. Hi, bro. And I kind of like Mr. OK. You're going to like Mr. OK, by the way. He's definitely more than okay. He's A-OK, actually. So I want to make sure that...
I've talked to him quite a bit. He's a lovely guy.
Very lovely guy. And I am going to get him on Sportswire one of these days, very soon, I promise. I want to say hello to one of my buddies who just wrestled in the ring this past Sunday for a company in kind of near my neck of the woods in Shelbyville, Indiana, called XCW, Mr. Michael Christian. And Michael actually wrestled. You'll appreciate this, my friend. He wrestled his stepfather and retired his stepfather in the ring. And that is Mr. Michael Christian retired his stepfather, Festus Davis, who's also a referee like Lee Milligan. He says, hello, hello again, Rev. Another beautiful day, another great guest. And this is a absolute treat to have on Sugar Ray Taylor, 1,000%. The man, I'm going to come back to also your opponent this Saturday, our Carnage Hardcore champion, Mr. Jamdo. Never late to the party. Anytime you're here with us, it's always a party. I also want to say hello to my buddy, Mr. Xavier Thorne, who I know I'm going to get you on Sportswire one of these days. I promise you that I will, and I know I definitely owe you. So thank you very much, Xavier Thorne. He's from Mississippi, I believe, wrestling in Tennessee. So thank you. Appreciate the kind words. Also, I want to say hello to one of my all-time favorites, the Tribal Cheese, a man I'm sure you've definitely crossed paths or seen around in the scene. Very, very well known and one of our all-time greats
Well,
on Sportswire, the
I
Tribal Cheese.
introduced the. I don't know if you saw the video, but I introduced the trophy.
Yes, yes, I did. Yes, I did. I did see that. Yes,
I
I
was
did get a
very
chance.
honoured.
And we're very honored to have you here with you. And the Tribal Cheese is also on YouTube. He's got about almost 1,400 subscribers. Hit that sub button, Mad Manx. Also, yes, hi, and looks like it's great. It's great. Oh, he's talking about the Tribal Cheese. Okay, so obviously I am going to come to Mr. Carnage, and I have a couple things I want to play on the screen. I actually do have some things that kind of honor that. Also, a few things to honor you as well upcoming. But since Jam is here, anything you want to say directly to Jam Dog?
Well, like Jam said, there's some people you respect as wrestlers, and there's some people you respect as men. Jam is one of those men that you respect as both. We've had brief conversations, and it'll be good to just have like two leaders in there where we can back each other up, kind of thing. But come bell time, no respect. I'll shake his hand afterwards, win, lose, or draw. But like Jam is a veteran and he's a king among men. Honestly, I genuinely believe that.
No, he's a good man.
So,
He's a very good man. I want to say it. There are some people that like inside the ring, sure, they're great, but
yeah,
outside the ring, I would say less than what they are in the ring. Jam, inside and outside the ring, is truly a Hall of Famer, and that's why he's in our Hall of Famer. But let me ask you one follow up though on Jam. I know we're going to talk about a lot for sure, but I think, and you can tell me your thoughts. You can take it any way you want. Jam has never faced though somebody like you. Jam has faced some great talent in CCW. He's faced Prince Dagan, the current champion. He's obviously had wars with Adrian Black. He's had wars with, he's had a relationship with Dustin Hart. We spoke about. I mean, he's Ronnie Thatcher. Ronnie Thatcher, of course, is one of our locker room leaders here in CCW, and he's had run-ins with Alfie Nerds. I mean, it's a long list of people within CCW that Jam Dog is definitely, he's had some great battles with, but he's never in my career, at least from what I've seen of covering Jam Dog, and I'm going to get to that. I promise you I'm going to get to that. He's never faced somebody like you. And I kind of think in some ways, the champion, it's very hard from his vantage point to prepare for somebody like you, even with all of his experience, because you can't change or you can't fake wrestling or doing something with somebody you're not accustomed to their style with. I mean, what do you say on that?
well, I've already gave something away where my style is Bret Hart, Terry Funk, and Marty Jones.
He doesn't wrestle that style. That's my point. I've seen you in
Well,
the ring. I watched.
you know what to look out for. And if he can wrestle like Bruiser Brody,
Yes, he has. Yes, he has the hardcore style. Jam is definitely, a hardcore wrestler, a throwback from that standpoint. Mick Foley a little bit, I would throw in there. Sure, I agree with you on that. But
And he's taller, so he can make that work. I'm just going to try and chop him down, get him off his feet,
well, don't
and
tell us
wear
your
him out.
strategy because I know, and when you mention the names like Bret Hart, I know exactly in my head conceptually a
Hmm.
Bret Hart match, how Bret Hart would
Yeah.
go up against a big man in his days, whether it was Diesel, The Undertaker, Psycho Sid. I mean, yes, I could certainly see a Bret Hart conceptually in my
Hmm.
head and tell you how you're going to wrestle that match. But don't tell us that here on Sportswire. But I still stand by my point that Jam Dog has never wrestled somebody like you. And yes, he can study the tape, he can study the footage, but he's still, when it comes to bell time, can't prepare for what's going to happen.
See, I've been in this a long time, so a lot of my stuff exists on DVD, so it's not as accessible as it is on YouTube. So that's kind of the ace up my sleeve.
Well, and I think that that's an interesting point you make because I talk with people all over the place. And one of the things people say is, well, back in the day, quote unquote, you had to. Of course, I'm going to name drop here. A friend of Sportswire Radios, who's in our Hall of Fame, Dean Allmark, would talk about the tape trading. You go to a certain
Yeah.
place and you put everything on VHS and you go out there and watch, or later on, in my time, more or less DVD. But now I can put in anybody's name on YouTube and I can watch 10, 12, 15, 20 matches and kind of get an idea. But you,
Yeah.
on the other hand, Sugar Ray Taylor, are kind of like this hidden commodity, this hidden
Yeah.
gem. Unlike Davey Blaze and Johnny Storm that have been in CCW, you can watch thousands of matches from them, thousands upon thousands of matches. You have wrestled probably just as much as them, but the difference is you're kind of this hidden commodity where I still say it. Jam can't go out and scout you. He can't go sit there and watch hours of your tape. He can watch two matches on YouTube. The two matches you had 2 years ago, DCT and Ryan Rude, and you had
They
another
weren't the
match.
best.
It was still a good. Listen, it was still a very good match, and I would recommend anybody out there, if you're a Xavier Thorne, a Michael Christian, go put in a search on YouTube for Sugar Ray Taylor. Still watch it anyway. But the point is that there's very little that he can watch and prepare of you. You still can't fake that.
Well, you talk about tape trading. I was a big time tape trader during the day, and I'll just show you something quickly.
Sure, show me anything you want. You're Sugar Ray Taylor.
Yeah, God. Um, these are all original. Like, this is the Terry Funk. This is DVD version.
Oh wow.
Where's the fuck?
Well, I saw your tattoo just there, which I've already seen because I've watched you in the room. But there I see Mr. Funker. Yes, there he is.
That's an 8-disc set.
Well, I'm sure you I don't know if you'll know this or not, but it was on Twitter just before they posted a match, or at least highlights of it, of actually a young Eddie Guerrero wrestling Terry Funk. This was in the NWA back in 1989. In fact, I think the anniversary of it just passed. Would have been 35 years ago. I think it was last week or maybe yesterday. But yeah, Terry Funk is certainly a living legend there. But we'll certainly come back to some of that, and we'll come back to the tape trading. And yes,
I remember having the pleasure of watching, getting to watch Eddie Guerrero, CM Punk, and Rey Mysterio in IWA Mid South.
oh wow, okay, wow,
You
that's a
know,
real hidden gem.
Chris Hero and CM Punk 90-minute match.
Wow, wow,
Yeah,
that had to be CM Punk definitely on the Independence. That was
it
definitely
was. It
the
was, yeah.
early. I want to think that had to have been either right before he went to TNA or right after he went to TNA. Probably somewhere in that range. Maybe even before it, if I'm not mistaken.
Chris Hero was a wealth of knowledge. Wealth of
Yep.
knowledge. criminal what they did with that guy.
Criminal what they did with so many other people. But,
Yeah.
obviously, thankfully, we're not having those problems on Sportswire Radio, but I do want to say hello now to my mother once again because she missed my intro. So I want to make sure that I
Ah,
say hello to
yeah,
you once
mommy.
again. Yep. And I just want to let you know that this is a big fan of yours, my mother, and obviously Sugar Ray Taylor. She's a big fan of yours. Big fan of yours. Obviously, knows
Would
all
you
about.
like a signed photograph?
Well, she probably wants your autograph, not my autograph, because your autograph would be
No,
worth.
no. Like, I'll get an 8x10 and I'll sign it for her.
I can certainly arrange that. Yes, I'm sure she would really appreciate that. She knows
Not a problem.
she's a huge wrestling fan. She obviously knows all the greats. Terry Funk, Ric Flair. Bret Hart. She knows all those wrestling names, and she's always watching on YouTube and searching for the matches, and she's
Mhm.
always big wrestling fan, and we need more female wrestling fans on Sportswire. So
Tell you one more thing. How much of a Bret Hart fan I am. You can see the old, where are they?
Let me pull it on the. Oh, there you go. Are those the boots I want to say from the early '90s, Bret Hart? I want to say those boots look like they had to have been from I want to say like maybe the first run for the Intercontinental title. Those boots look like for a little bit. I see
Yeah.
them. Yes, I do.
Well, you get to see them on Saturday. I can't really get them in the shop properly.
Well, you know what? I'm sure Jam Dog is gonna find out because those boots are his face is gonna taste those boots because I'm sure
Yeah, they're
you're
going
gonna
to be in the
certainly.
back of his knees, everything.
Well, don't tell us this. Don't tell us the obviously strategy. I always tell everybody at this point. I used to tell RPD this all the time. Don't tell me the strategy and don't tell me what to expect. But you can only find out if you have a ticket here coming up for the match itself that we're going to wind up seeing. That is going to be this Saturday for a sold out CCW Carnage 3 Jam Dog versus Sugar Ray Taylor for the CCW Carnage Hardcore Championship. And the doors are going to open at 6 o'clock, and it's already sold out, so you can't buy a ticket. You can't do anything else but be there and watch a great, great show. A tribute to a fallen brother, a friend, and somebody we all miss dearly, and Mr. Carnage, Sean Duffy. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters here on Sportswire Radio. And if you are here on YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579. I hope that you hit a subscription button for us, and I hope that you tune in and support our friends over at CCW UK Northeast on YouTube. There are a number of other links here in the description where you can support CCW. And also, I want to say thank you very much for tuning into my mother as well. I appreciate that. And I
Yes,
hope
we did
you
it
sit back
again.
and enjoy the rest of the show. Or if you tune out, come back any other time. But okay, I want to talk about it because you want to talk about it. I want to talk about it. And our fans here throughout the world, and especially of CCW, want to talk about Mr. Carnage, Sean Duffy.
Yeah.
Obviously, tomorrow we're inducting him into our Hall of Fame. I will have that link later on in the evening to send over to DJB, who was our social media manager of CCW, and I'll have that link early. So if you want to come by and say hello for a few minutes, or
I
anybody
totally
else in
will.
absolutely, anybody else in the locker room will, and I want to put this up here on the screen. And, one of my biggest regrets, and you can tell me your thoughts on what happened when you heard the news, but I've been doing this for over 5 years. And when Mr. Carnage had passed away, I had got the chance to just start to cover CCW. And one of my regrets, I said this when we inducted Ronnie Thatcher, the gentleman thug, into the Hall of Fame, was that I didn't get a chance to interview Mr. Carnage, Sean Duffy. I didn't get a chance to know him personally. I knew who he was. I had just started to cover the company. Unfortunately, we had covered some individuals and interviewed them that no longer work in CCW because, well, they couldn't hang with the big boys. They couldn't cut the mustard, and they really weren't people in the locker room that, were certainly how can I put it, a welcoming a force. But that's here nor there. But
Like
I
cancer
want.
in the locker room.
What's that?
Were there cancer in the locker room?
They absolutely were not only cancers, they were stage 4 cancers, but I'm going to certainly leave those individuals to no longer be named. But we want to talk about to you what Mr. Carnage meant. And you talked about it a little bit on the CCW Facebook page of Cutlery Championship Wrestling. Just, when you heard the news and just, everything that kind of the emotions that came out from you, and just thinking about our fallen brother, friend, and family member, and just leader of Cutlery Championship Wrestling and Mr. Carnage, Sean Duffy.
Do you want me to go right from the beginning?
You sure can. You're Sugar Ray Taylor. You do it any way you want.
I was working in a local gym, and I was 16, maybe 15, and he walked in. Well, Sean was a big guy. He's a lot slender then, and he walked in with a guy called Tian, who was over 7 feet tall, legitimately. And we just got talking, and eventually we started working on the doors together, doing bouncing rolls. I don't know if you've got that photo up there of me, my first bouncer badge.
I can bring this up. It's probably not the one you're talking about, but I do have this here, basically talking about the beginnings of your career. It kind of goes into that, the article you sent me. I was able to get this up here, but I unfortunately couldn't pull the photo from the early, which you kind of referred to, I think, off the air, and also when you did a podcast a couple of years ago. But I do have this up here, at least for the time being.
Well, anyway, then me and Sean just hit it off, and we started doing bodybuilding shows. Sean would have been about 27. I would have been 16. And see, there's a long walk from the gym to the opposite end of the city. And we made that walk every single day, and he would sit with me and my father. He was one of the family. And I spent every single day with that man. And there's not a day goes by when I don't think about him. And I heard about his passing, and I saw the guys carrying coffins with these armbands on, and I thought, wait, what are those armbands? And they said, oh, it's because of wrestling. See, now I'd been around traveling at the time. I didn't know Sean was wrestling. And I thought, wait, now Sean has tragically passed. Can I get a tribute match? And I obviously didn't speak to the right person. Nobody's fault. And here we are, some few years later, and I finally got it. And it's no charge whatsoever. It's just so I can pay a tribute to my brother. Because we used to say to each other, but he said to me, he said, Sean, we aren't just friends, we're brothers. And that meant the world to me. When my dad used to go out in the town, he used to always take care of my dad in case he was in danger. And my father will be there on Saturday, as will about 15 of my other family. And Sean's parents, I understand, might be there. So it's going to be emotional. And me and Sean would work many doors together, and we used to get in a lot of battles. And I knew Sean from a previous life, from a previous marriage. So I didn't get the pleasure to meet Amy. We lost touch, and that's how I didn't know he was wrestling. And I was so happy because I knew that he loved wrestling. And I loved wrestling. But everybody already knew me as a wrestler because I've been doing it since I was 14. You get me?
Yep. No, I hear. I'm just letting you speak because it's it's a very emotional to hear what you were saying, and that's just
Yeah, I'm
you
talking
know.
back to you, to be honest with you. And I absolutely broke my heart at that funeral, and I've got a photo of that funeral there.
Let
This
me.
is me and my
I'll make
father.
the screen bigger so you can pull that back up. We'll take that photo. There we go. Oh wow, I see you right there. Yeah, it's unfortunately, you know, it still hits us all. It's 2 years last week to the day, February 14th on Valentine's Day. That's what makes it even more difficult. Ronnie was talking about it, I think, on his show yesterday, and we had a show last week where he put different people on. I made the announcement that we're going to induct him into the Hall of Fame, and Ronnie said he doesn't even celebrate Valentine's Day anymore because of just the fact that, it's like he passed away on a day that's supposed to be love and, people, and you're supposed to, have all these, great feelings. And it's not to be that for the case for, so many people that considered him a friend. And, what was he
Yeah.
like though? What was he like though when you were growing up? Because, a lot of guys, Dustin Hart knows him very well for a long time, but, what was he like? If the locker, I'm sure the lot of the locker room will be hearing this, and we'll probably touch upon this tomorrow, and we'll obviously let you speak also on that as well. But what was he like then, years ago? What was he like as a person?
When I first met him, he
Yeah.
was very mild mannered, and he was about half the size that he became. Um, and but he was so genuine. He would help everyone, and like I say, I can't thank him enough because my dad hasn't been in good health for quite a long time, and whenever my dad did get to go out in the bar, Sean worked on that bar, and I could rest easy knowing that Sean would take care of him should the worst happen, because Sean thought the world of my father. I mean, I can even bring my father on a little bit later on if you want him to talk about Sean.
Well, I think Friday, tomorrow's show, I think if that's something you want, I think in that moment, because tomorrow's only about honoring him, and anybody that would
Hmm.
want to talk in that
Yeah,
context of time, I don't want to make this too much, of going too much down it, because I obviously we're gonna go down that rabbit hole tomorrow, obviously, and honoring him, and still want tomorrow to be a day, to honor his legacy, and to certainly let it be known that his name is going to always be remembered. But it's I know you've done a lot. I know you've learned from some of the greatest in this sport. You've obviously wrestled all around the world. But will this be the most emotional match of your career this Saturday?
I've already told Jam, in the brief conversation we had, I said, look, this is the most meaningful match of my career. Getting to pay tribute to my fallen brother. And that's what we were, brothers. Make no mistake. Um, it'll be emotional. It'll be brutal. I'm not particularly a hardcore, you know, by the definition of the book wrestler, but I am a very physical wrestler. Mat wrestler, spent quite a lot of time at the world famous, if you can see, Snake
Uh,
Pit.
yes, yes, I did. Now you go. Yep, I see it. Yep, now I saw that. Yep.
So I've got a legitimate background too. And Sean is very much missed around the Sunderland City pubs because Sean ruled with an iron fist, but with a caring fist. You know, he made sure people were safe. And like we spent every single day together for about 8, 9 years, and it's a big hole to fill. It's a big hole to fill.
Oh, for sure. You spend that much time with somebody,
Yeah,
and that's a huge part. Think about the average life expectancy. I don't know, 70, 80 years, whatever it is. That's still more than 10% of someone's life. You can't take away all those moments. You can't take away all those memories that you had, especially at a time for both of you guys. Obviously you coming into your own, him in the prime of his life. And, those are the most cherished moments. It wasn't like, okay, I was 10, he was 18. No, you were like going up in the world and he was already established. And that's what made the relationship that you and him had so special. And I think it also matches what a lot of people that were there from the early origins of CCW, like a David Dudes, certainly Ronnie, Walker Wall Street, Dustin, obviously, Mr. Barris. I know we talk about on stage Mr. Barris is bobblehead Barris, but the facts are is those cornerstones from CCW from the early beginnings, they had a special relationship like you did with Mr. Carnage. Everybody that was there from the early days of CCW. I'm talking about when, we were cinematic, when, we were just getting in to being indoors and being a company after COVID and selling out. And that's why, you know, it's so emotional and it's so important that we honor him. And it's so important that we're having this show Saturday because we don't want to make him forgotten. We don't want him to be like everybody else in this sport, in this business. Yeah, we say a few nice words and we forget about them. No, we want to make sure that Mr. Carnage, he's really one of the reasons CCW is what it is today. I mean, CCW has had 40 something sellouts, and it's all consecutive. CCW's fans, I know you've been in Sunderland. You've got a devoted fan base out there, but I can tell you, somebody that's covered CCW for over 2 years and has now watched a lot of these shows, CCW fans are very special. A lot of people, if I could for a second, a lot of people around in this quote unquote toxic environment at times of British politics knock CCW because of the fact they're jealous of CCW's success. They're jealous of the fact that the relationship CCW has with their fans. They're jealous of the fact, let me finish. They're jealous of the fact that CCW goes out there in the community and honors people and goes out there and makes a difference. And that's why, if it wasn't for Mr. Carnage, we wouldn't have any of this. And that's why not only do we want to have this special show Saturday, but I wanted to take it a step further, for me at least, because my regret is I didn't get a chance to interview him. We just missed him. We missed him because he was in the company, but we were only just getting into the company. That I'd like to induct him in the Hall of Fame, side by side with the likes of Dean Allmark and certainly R.P. Davis. And of course, the locals, your opponent this Saturday, Jam Dog, Ronnie Thatcher and James Barris. So that's, now you can have the floor.
Well, a lot of these CCW haters, now I know they've had their differences with my grandfather figure, Marty Jones, and I think that was just crossed wires. A lot of these people wouldn't have gotten away with things bashing CCW had Sean been around.
100% agreed. 100% agreed. Looking at Mr. Carnage, looking who he is, they would never have said those things. Now, I have been doing my best to defend the CCW crowd. I will want to say that, I take it at liberty that they knock CCW because I would cut my right arm off for CCW because I see what they do in the community. I see what they're doing for wrestlers. I see what they're doing for people. So when these knuckleheads, these stage 4 cancer people that used to work in CCW and these stage 4 cancer people that quote unquote call themselves wrestlers, but can't even do a hip toss or can't even go out there and perform what you've done, I will go with Liberty to stand up for them because they have also been inclusive. They've helped people from all backgrounds. They've given people from all walks of life an opportunity, and they're just jealous. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but in the rest of the world, you get a reality and you get the work. But I can tell you now, Sean was 100% the real deal, brother. He was the real deal. You know, he could talk the talk and walk the walk. And he instilled a lot of things in me growing up. I mean, we used to go to travel around doing bodybuilding shows, and we both done very, very well. And like, I can't express enough that I miss the guy every day. I miss him every day. That promo you heard me do,
Yep. Yeah.
that was 100% real.
Oh, I felt it. Oh, listen, that was to me from the heart. Dustin Hart always talks about the heart of the heritage, and that was really from the heart. You talked about in the ring and just like you felt something. Like you saw your boots and you just saw everything, and you talked about your big brother. You talked about your mentor, and you talked about like you wish you would heard the news at that moment, but it doesn't take away from everything you did up and down the road with him. It doesn't take away from those moments. And the only thing we can do is to go forward and in the best way possible, honor his legacy and make it known that he's somebody that will always use as a guide and always use to continue to further go on, almost to soldier on. I equate it almost like in a lot of times when a band has to go on, when they lose a singer or they lose a guitarist, you go back and, if you're a fan of music, AC/DC loses Bon Scott, Randy Rhoads dies with Ozzy Osbourne, you go back and down the list of bands that were at a crossroads and they decided to continue on because that's the only thing we can do. And I think that with Mr. Carnage, Sean Duffy, everything that he meant to all of us that were in CCW and were covering this company and looked upon him, the only thing we can do to go forward is to continue to do what we're doing. And Saturday is going to be a part. Now, don't cry too much on me because tomorrow I'm sure is going to be a heavy show. I still want it to be positive. I still want it to be, a little bit fun. But we are going to have a match this Saturday where you're going to go out there, and I'm sure, put some of that out there, and a lot of emotions are on the line. And it's also for a championship. So, I got to say, conversely, bring it back a little bit so we don't go, too deep down
Oh
that
no,
rabbit hole.
listen, brother. I mean,
Well, I was going to say, you win this match Saturday, all of a sudden you walk into CCW, you're the Carnage Hardcore Champion. Now, Sugar Ray Taylor, you're a living legend and you've done a lot in this sport. But all of a sudden you win Saturday, everybody's talking about Jam and Dagan. I think it should be maybe you and Dagan down the road if Jam is so lucky to get past him, because if you win Saturday and you're the Carnage Hardcore Champion with your resume, you think Dagan wants any part of you? I don't know. And if he's lucky to even get past Jam at Miners Mania. So, you know what? You win this match, automatically, you're probably the next in line for any shot at the World Underground title, because we know Jam is going to get that shot at Miners Mania. So you win Saturday, you all of a sudden move up the line to where, like, you legitimately could be the number one contender.
Well, this, God willing, this belt to me is my NWA World Heavyweight Championship belt. That's how much this means to me. And I'll be a traveling champion, God willing. I really will. I'll do my friend that honor. And I can't thank Jam enough to give me this opportunity to wrestle for it. And me and Jam are from the same mold where we go at it hard. We go at it from a proper pro wrestling. We're not sports entertainers. We're pro wrestlers.
Absolutely. And it's so funny you said that because I've gotten a chance to know Jam over the past few years, and that's what I think. And I think it's also, as we're here talking with the legendary Sugar Ray Taylor. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling matters here
Not
in
calling
Sports
me
Wire.
legendary. I ain't
I know,
legendary.
but we do the certain. We like to hype people up on sports. But they call me a hype man. They do that. It's funny when I did sports for like kind of like professional university sports. The coach used to call me the hype man. Now, so I'm kind of like a hype man. But the facts are, is we're here on Sports by Radio speaking with
I
Sugar Ray Taylor
appreciate it, though.
ahead of his match against Jam Dog for the Carnage Hardcore Championship at CCW Carnage 3 here. In a way, I kind of think that the match is also fitting, in addition to everything you've went through with Mr. Carnage, but also, I said this yesterday, and I said this on Tuesday's show. To me, Jam is kind of like our locker room leader here in CCW, because you think about his journey, you think about his career. He's obviously been there also with big names, Doug Williams. Some person probably people have heard of Finn Balor. Other person people have heard of Nikki Cross. People definitely really established names too, kind of like the names you've been around with. But I think in a way it is fitting because I look at him in CCW as a locker room leader. He's right up there. I would say there's some other names, that are certainly veterans, more established names. I throw Tribal Cheese in there with his experience. He's a locker room leader. I would throw out there Ronnie, certainly. I would throw out there Dustin, just based on experience. People that have been in this sport and they kind of know what it is to be a professional wrestler, to be somebody to carry themselves and represent our CCW company proud. But in a way, to me, this is such a fitting match because I do look at Jam as one of our locker room leaders, and you're one of the true, to me, pro wrestlers in this sport. And I think that's also why it's a fitting match coming up this Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, without giving too much away from behind the curtain, we spoke briefly, and we see things exactly the same in terms of how you conduct yourself. See, if I'm a champion, I turn up, carry myself a certain way. And one thing I have for Jam after the match on Saturday, I've got these gifts for him. Just as a token of me appreciation.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's really cool there. That's really cool. Wow. Oh, Bruiser Brody. It's funny. I was just listening to a podcast speaking about Bruiser Brody and his death. What a small world. Everything's so intertwined. At this point, my life should just be wrestling because literally all I do is watch wrestling, talk wrestling. So, if you're out there and, all you want to know about me is about wrestling, you're in luck.
That's me, Rampage. And
is Screwface and Med in there also? Or am I missing?
No, just me and Rampage taking a class.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Did I send you the photo of me and Johnny Saint and Marty Jones?
You did not. You did not. You did not. But I can pull this up that you showed me, which was pretty cool. This was you getting ready to go to Finland. I mean, that's a pretty cool journey. I mean, you travel. So you've traveled around the world. You've wrestled in Mexico, which is, I think, one of the wrestlers' things to do is wrestle in Mexico. I'm friends with the guy. I've heard different stories about that. I'm friends with a guy that's in the PWI 500 this year. His name is Vito Fratelli, and he's wrestled in Mexico about like maybe 15 or 16 times. And, Mexico, it's certainly, it's either you take it or leave it. But, what has your experiences been like traveling around? You've done Mexico, you've done Finland, you've wrestled here in the U.S. So, what are those experiences like?
America. Like I was showing the guys in training the other night, in case you ever go to America.
Pizza's on me. Pizza's on me, by the way, if you come to New York.
Oh, I love to. Tell you, one place I've never been is New York.
Well, I hope so. I hope you come because I've actually met two people that I've interviewed. I interviewed the then LWF World Champion Reynaldo, who actually started 20 years ago, who actually was trained in Canada, and also Sheriff Steele, who was the KOW champion in Barrow. So I met him last year. I met Reynaldo the year before. So if you're out there and you're traveling to New York, I want to make it 3 for 3 in summers of meeting wrestlers. So you're always welcome in.
Beautiful,
Pizza's on me, and anything else is on me, by the way.
beautiful. In America, as I was showing the trainees in training the other night, they kind of see if I've got a guy in a corner and I'm getting some heat on him, I'll say something like feed the line, which means feed your way down to the middle of the line so you can be ready for Irish whip. You know?
Sure.
Rather than if I meant feed the corner to the opposite corner, I'd say feed to the corner. They like to do a lot of that stuff in the States.
It's a different style of
Mexico,
it's a different style of wrestling because it's
yeah,
kind of almost, how can I put this? It's almost a very, you're wrestling for almost a crowd. You're wrestling like a fast food type of pace because the
yes.
attention span, you've wrestled in Mexico. So the Mexican crowd is going to certainly see or appreciate wrestling from a different standpoint. The American crowd is kind of, how can I put this without putting down the American crowd too much? It might be looking more for the entertainment aspects of it, or kind of get to where you want to go, more or less. That could be for the average statesman. I don't want to say it's every American fan, but the American fan is going to certainly be example different than a Japanese wrestling fan, obviously.
Right. When I'm in America next time, I'll get you in a ring and I'll show you exactly what I mean.
Oh, I have
And
no doubt you will. I hope I'll be able to get up and live to tell about it.
you will, honestly. I'm as light as a feather.
No,
Um,
I was trying to be funny. I was trying to be funny. But where have you wrestled in America? I'd be curious for the audience. What states have you wrestled in America?
well, ironically enough, a lot of my experiences in America were college style wrestling.
What we got cut off with you? Where was it?
College style wrestling. My
Oh, okay,
experience.
okay, kind of like the amateur. Yes, that's kind of like what Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar. Well, I
Yeah,
guess we can say his name. So Shelton Benjamin, those
yeah.
types of wrestlers were actually they came up on. Certainly
Well,
the
I went to
grappling mat based wrestling. Sure.
Ohio State.
Yes, sure. I know Ohio. I'm friends with a couple of guys out there in Ohio that wrestle from Ohio. Sure, absolutely.
Seminole State.
Florida.
Um,
Okay.
um, where was the other one? Jesus. Somewhere. What Washington State?
Washington. Yes, there is Washington State, which is near the almost kind of near Canada up there in a little bit. Sure, I know it very well. Yeah, sure.
Wasn't Ohio the place where Dan Gable teaches?
Yes, yes, it is. Ohio is where a lot of guys. Actually, Ohio is where, if you heard the name Les Thatcher, who trained a lot of the guys going back from like the '80s, Brian Pillman.
Developmental eye.
Yep, Brian Pillman, John Moxley, a
Yeah.
lot of those guys, he trained them. I think also, I'm trying to think, was it not Eddie, not Eddie Edwards. It was somebody else. I've lost track, but he trained a lot of those guys in that area. So I could certainly see that. Let me ask you though. Let me ask you though a question. I've obviously interviewed Dean Allmark. I know him very well. He talked about his experience when he came to America for the first time, and it was kind of like almost, it was a big adjustment. It was like a culture shock when you came here for the first time, or even when you went to Mexico. I mean, for the first time, how big of a culture shock was that?
Well, everything in Mexico is on the opposite arm. So over here we do everything on the left arm. If you do an arm drag, you do a left arm. Over there, right arm. So it's a bit strange, So, But I got heavily involved in a lot of the catch wrestling stuff, which is Olympic wrestling but with submissions.
Yeah, we see some of that at times incorporated in different things. I've seen a little bit of it. Sure,
I don't know if you want to get into that.
I'll get your Sugar Ray Taylor. I mean, how is
Okay,
that
yeah.
how has that helped you in terms of your career? Learning some of this, grapple style and some of this
I
mat
mean,
based wrestling. I mean, how has that helped you in terms of your career?
CBE is there, and my cauliflower ears. Um, this is my. Oh God, yeah, I'm a big advocate in mental health, so I've got that.
Well, the CCW has been very big on mental health. A lot
Yeah.
of guys in the locker room have talked about that, and I think that it's very important to talk about those things because you know 20
Did you
years
get my
ago.
certificates from the snake pit that I sent you?
I didn't get the certificates. I got videos from you. I got also some different. I got some different photos you sent me. I didn't get the certificate, but I actually, it's funny about certificates because actually, Sugar Ray Taylor, I have something for you that
Hey,
you. I have something for you, Sugar Ray Taylor, for a change. You've been showing us all this stuff. Your obviously collection of tapes. You've been talking about some of the things, but I actually have something that I want to present to you for a change. You've done so much for this sport. You've given back in so many different ways that I would actually want to give you something for a change that I guarantee you've never gotten from anyone before. So if it would be okay, I could present to you something on the screen that kind of shows our appreciation to you almost.
marvelous. Uh, whatever it is, I'm eager to see it.
Oh, I promise you this you've never gotten before in even your career. So I actually want to do this now for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters. I want to declare it today on this date, February the 22nd, 2024, on all Sportswire Radio platforms. That includes
Mm.
here on Facebook at Sportswire Radio, Twitch at Sportswire Radio, Sportswire Radio YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579. My also Twitter at Thomas Bryce 2017, Instagram at the Sports Report 2021, my personal Facebook page, Tom Bryce. Anywhere that we have Sportswire Radio related information in our websites and everything else we do, I wanted to acknowledge that this day is Sugar Ray Taylor Day. For all that you've done for this sport, all that you've done for helping people, all that you've done in terms of making wrestling a better place, and all that you've done for Sunderland, all that you've done for your fans, and all that I have no doubt that you're going to do for CCW in the future. I want it to be recognized on this date. When I'm going to give you the certificate. When we're off the air, I'm going to give you the personal certificate. But this is your day, my friend. Thank you for all that you've done for this sport. Thank you for all that you've done for so many people, making a difference in our communities, doing it for the fans, doing it to give people joy, take away from all the problems in the world. We have so much going on out there in the world. We have loss of, wars. We have inflation. We have people are divided by so many different things. But you have actually gone out there and always done it to try to improve people's lives and just take away everything that they're going on here from. But this is why I wanted to honor you, my friend, and just thank you for everything that you've done
Thank
on this
you
date. I
so,
wanted to honor you.
so much. I'm taken aback, really, I am. Like,
Well, it's about giving back to people. I think all the time everybody wants something. Always. My mother was here earlier, and she probably, maybe not appreciate, maybe appreciate this actually. Everybody always wants their hand out. Right? Everybody wants to be given something, but I always look to use Sportswire Radio. And the reason that I think that I've been successful, the reason that I think that Sportswire has been, this place that people want to tune into, especially from wrestling all over the world, and we try to unite people from all backgrounds, is I like to give back. I like to support causes, support things that I think would bring people together and, take away from the divide. And that's why I wanted to do something for you tonight and give you something for a change.
Thank you, Tom. I mean, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, but this is probably easily one of the biggest honours of my career. I was not expecting this whatsoever. And this is going
Well,
to, when I get, I'm going to put it right up on my wall.
after we're off the air, I'm going to send you the copy, and I want you to have that. And maybe the next time you come back on the show, that we'll actually go even further and maybe induct you into a Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, which your opponent's going to be in this Saturday, and you very well might beat your opponent, right? So if he's in the Hall of Fame, you got to be in the Hall of Fame. Dean Olmark, a man you've probably seen around quite a bit, especially from All Star
Legend.
Wrestling.
Legend.
Oh, Dean is one of the great, and he's training. By the way, he's back to training again. He's doing training. I think it's Monday nights and Wednesday nights over at Claw Wrestling. He's doing it over Claw. He's doing it at Claw. He's doing it
One thing
there.
I'll say,
Mm-hmm.
you're never too good to keep training. I see a lot of guys now think, oh, wait, I'm on shows, and they don't feel the need to train. Well, they're wrong. Dean is a guy who always is learning.
No question about it. No, listen, Dean is, one of the greatest people we've ever had a chance to interview on the platform, and I wanted to obviously again, make it known on how much that you've meant and how much I think that it means to us to have you here with us tonight, and that's why I wanted to, make this known and make this day a little special, and it'll be extra special tomorrow for sure when we see you. But I want to also induct you into the Hall of Fame the next time you get a chance to come onto the platform here. And we are here with Sugar Ray Taylor. I'm going to one more time mention it for people here. He's going to be in the ring this Saturday at the sold-out CCW Carnage 3 for that hardcore championship against Jam Dog. And also, he is going to be here tomorrow as we induct into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame our fallen brother, friend.
One more thing, please.
You can say anything you want. You're Sugar Ray Taylor.
Round about 2006, I was in hospital. I don't mind telling you this, but I had a problem with prescription drugs. This is a cautionary tale. And I could hear because there was no mobile phones then, and I could hear someone arguing with the doctor. And they must have been arguing for about 10 minutes. And she begrudgingly wheels in the lorry with the phone on. I picked it up, and none other than Mr. Duffy. And he was the only person to phone me, and he was there every day after.
Wow. That showed you the kind of friend he was, that, you were going through something, but it didn't matter to him. What mattered was your well-being, and what mattered was for you to feel better. And that's what counts in life. It's not so much about, wins, losses, who has the most money. Sometimes in life we get wrapped about who has the most followers, who has the most money, can you be better than somebody? But, in life, it's not about that. What's about is the personal relationships that you build upon. And that's what matters most. And that's really why we're having this show Saturday. And I also want to point out this 10-person, battle royal to win the trophy for Mr. Carnage. I mean, you obviously mentioned you would love to have been there in the battle royal, but you're obviously going to be wrestling Jam Dog, so we can certainly understand why you'll be busy. But I guess, is there anybody that's impressed you in that? I mean, I'm sure Alfie Nerds is somebody you don't want to win that 10-person Battle Royal, but obviously from afar. Some names I'm sure Ronnie you've obviously seen around. Tribal Cheese, you've obviously seen him around. He's been established in the scene as well for a while. But does it matter to you, or does it mean something to see up?
Well, I would. Ronnie, yeah, in the Battle Royal, yeah, but I've had a heavy part in some of the trainees who might not have been on any of these shows yet, and one of them in particular, well, two, is Mia and a girl called Cody Roundhouse.
Okay.
She is gonna, mark my words, she will be on TV in a few years. She chipped me
Wow.
tooth. She chipped my tooth the other night,
Oh.
and because I suggested she use this roundhouse, the old Kerry Von Erich style
Sure.
roundhouse thing,
I
and
just watched Iron Claw. Sure, absolutely.
yeah. So, and she was in tears that she chipped my tooth. I said, "Look, it's her business, but she is one to watch."
I'll keep
But,
an eye on that. I did not
but
know that. That's
I've got so much respect for Jam. I really do. Everything he's done in this business mirrors my own, and I think that it's going to be a bit of a treat, and it's also not only just emotional, but a bit of a treat because I've agreed to stay on, win, lose, or draw with CCW exclusively for the next however long they'll have me.
well, I was going to ask you that same question. So you're going to be exclusive to CCW? I mean, this is almost like, to me, the heavens have opened. I mean, you and CCW exclusively? I mean,
Yeah,
that's a dream come true. We've talked about so many of the big boys coming to CCW in the past. We've talked about people that have been here and they've loved it. But now you love it so much that you're going to be here for the foreseeable future. I mean, this is a massive deal. I mean, this is really, to me,
yeah,
one of the biggest deals we could have here in CCW to date.
yeah. I mean, I appreciate that. I'm very flattered,
I mean,
but I
Tribal
love,
Chief being here was a big deal. And,
yeah,
knowing him before he came to CCW and then seeing him and then him calling CCW his home and
hmm
endorsing CCW is a massive deal with his fan base, very similar to yours. I mean, his fan base is so devoted, and I want to give him actually a big shout out because he gave me this nice little letter. So I want to make sure that the Tribal Cheese sees this one more time. But but the point is that he's called CCW home, and now Sugar Ray Taylor, you're calling CCW home. I mean, it don't get any better than this. It
yeah.
literally does not get any better than this.
I mean, I'd had offers from elsewhere, like up and down the country, but I thought I believe in this product
Me too.
and I
Me too.
believe in Sean. I want to carry that legacy on and fill his, you know, heavy-hearted boots and just bring on the next generation of talent when my run comes to an end.
Well,
So
we
I've
got a
told,
long time from that because, Dean Allmark, speaking of, he talked about considering retirement, but he actually said here on Sportswire, I can't retire. I'm Dean Allmark. So you're Sugar Ray Taylor. You can't retire anytime soon either because you know what? Ric Flair's still quote unquote going. I mean, I
yeah, I'm
think
37.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You got plenty of years. Listen, Dean Allmark is, I think, 41. And he was like, well, I was thinking about retiring. So, I mean, you got years before you get to Dean Allmark's age. So, I mean, why not? I mean, why not keep going? Because so many people in this sport say they retire and they don't retire. So, I mean, you have so much to offer. And CCW is the place to be. And CCW is the place that if you can make it anywhere, it's CCW. And you already made it everywhere else. So why not be here at home in CCW? So to me, I think this is really even better news than we could have expected because Now I feel like that, okay,
Mm.
after all I've said about CCW, that somebody else agrees. And even Davey Blaze said the last time he was in the ring in CCW that he was certainly more than open to coming back. You hear, I mean, there's so many possibilities. Think about the dream scenarios. And on top of that, if you win this Saturday, I mean, everybody's talking Jam and Dagan, but you're probably the man right in line for the next title shot, Toby. This doesn't get any better than this coming up.
Yeah, I mean, whatever happens on Saturday, um, I will be staying on for. I've already spoke to James, and I've said, look, I'll stay on in whatever capacity as long as you'll have me. And he says, brother, you've got a home for life in CCW,
So
and
happy to hear that. So happy to
and
hear that.
I can help bring other people in. I can help bring like open doors for the young trainees. So the sky's the limit because James put so much effort into this.
Oh my goodness, this man doesn't sleep. This man literally, I mean, I don't know how this man gets the energy. I mean, literally, what this man does for the community, what this man does for the sport. I mean, I'm proud to say I'm a James Barris guy. I mean, fight
I
me at
am.
it if you're in the world. I am a James Barris guy. I don't care who you are out there. You want to fight me for it? I am a James Barris guy because this man, what he does and what he does for this sport and this community, giving people chances. I mean, with this, I don't think there's any better owner right now in this country.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't. I mean, he put so much effort, money, ambition,
Time away from his family
time,
and
away
everything this
from
man does.
family. And now I always remember I used to listen to a radio show called Talk Sport Radio, and Grado was on there.
Oh, of course, Grado, absolutely. I mean, Davey spoke about him a lot when he was here. Davey Blaze was on here in August, I think, and he spoke about Grado. Absolutely, their wars, sure.
Regal was the guest, and Grado said, "Have you got any advice?" And he said, "Look, if you can't give 110%, don't do this." So, like, James gives 200%, you know,
Absolutely, absolutely. No, this
and I've got
man
so much
is
respect for
amazing.
James.
Me too. Listen, I have said for the past 2 years that he is really goes above and beyond his means for what he does for the people as individuals. It's just he goes out there and it's whether it's for raising money for cancer, whether it's going out there in the community and using CCW as a tool for what it should be in this sport, whether it's the time he spends in the locker room talking to guys, whether it's the ability that he takes our company and uses it to give people those opportunities of training, to learn from people like yourself, to go out there and be the people that maybe they couldn't be in life. James gives people an open door. James has always opened his door to anybody that wants to be here in CCW. James has always gone above and beyond his means as a promoter. He's not
Mhm.
just a promoter. He's a father, he's a brother, he's a friend, and he's a community leader. And that's why Sugar Ray, I always say James should change the name to Colory Community Wrestling. Because what
Yeah,
we do here in the Colories is not just about championship wrestling. It's about community wrestling. I continue to tell him to change it to Colory Community Wrestling because that's what I refer CCW is. Because what you guys all do in this company, there's nobody that does what CCW does.
nobody, no,
Nobody.
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 And
Nobody.
um, but like I say, there's one thing more I could bring up. You alluded to my slogan at the beginning. Tell all your mates.
Tell all your mates. Yep.
That's trademarked, and you've got full rights to use that.
Well, I'm not going to do that because I got plenty of things to use, but I was kind of saying to tell all your mates to follow CCW, where Sugar Ray Taylor is a part of things, and you can do that in a few different ways here before we get to
No,
closing.
I'm just saying that you can use it
Oh,
wherever I want. Because I've had a few people try and, on the UK scene, try and pinch it, or steal it. I got it trademarked along with my name, Sugar Ray, because then even the name Sugar Ray Taylor, I used to be quite a prolific amateur boxer, and there never been a Sugar Ray in professional wrestling. So
no,
that's where that
it's
came
funny.
from.
No, not that I know of. No, not a professional wrestler. No, not at all. Not at
So,
all.
yeah.
It's
And
funny though that you said boxing though. I mean, because you know, obviously you mentioned your age, and somebody else I know very well before I get to comments in a second was the natural born fighter RP Davis, who was the first, if I'm not mistaken, British boxing world champion to be a major wrestling world champion. And since you were a boxer as well, I mean, did you ever cross paths with RPD at all in the scene anyway? Did you ever cross paths? His father also, I know, dabbled in some boxing. Mark Davis, they have a gym that they
I
train.
know of them. I know of them. Yes.
Mark
See,
was it. Mark was his trainer and manager, actually. Mark Davis, who was his trainer manager. Then he got into wrestling through Johnny Brannigan from Grand Pro.
what happened was, where I grew up was a very rough area, and be soccer player or a boxer.
Okay.
Now, I wasn't interested in soccer, so I had to be a boxer. And not it wasn't until I got into wrestling and catch wrestling through the snake pit, and my coach here,
Oh wow.
Bram, not the wrestling Bram Crossing,
Okay.
and he's
I know what you're talking about. Sure.
kindly he's kindly inscribed it for me here.
Oh wow, that's so cool.
That guy is a saint. He's got some great stories himself, and so yeah. I mean, is anything else you'd like to know, or
I
do I
think I
want to
want to get
see
to.
it?
I think obviously I want to get to some comments here before we move on and get a few more thoughts. Obviously, I know you're obviously got a lot to look forward to for Saturday, and I think we've covered a lot of that. Also, Mr. OK wants to wish you a good match, and
Thank you,
we love.
Mr. OK.
I can't wait to have Mr. OK back on the platform. My buddy Skulls out there from California, who I have, he sent me something in the mail, so I'm going to open tomorrow on the air and Saturday on the air. He says he's also training to be a wrestler, and he's also gotten to know James Barris. He's all the way in California. That shows you the kind of person that James Barris is, because he talks to people all over the world like Skulls. And Skulls is one of our
Yeah,
favorites. He's going into our Hall of Fame. How you doing, Skulls? Speaking of another respected pro wrestler, want to say hello to my buddy from Iowa, Mr. Levi McDaniel. He's the general manager for the IMF. They're kind of like the Midwest of the United States version of CCW. They're doing a great job out there. They just had a very
really
successful
good.
show this past weekend. They had about like 400 people show up, and it was a king of the center, had a who's who of wrestlers out there. How you doing, Levi? Thank you so much for all of your support. Thank you for all you do for this great sport, Levi. You are more than awesome, and thank you for everything just that you do, just making wrestling, all wrestling matters. And Mr. Barris, thanks you for, because you know what? I've asked you a lot, but in the interest of time, I want to ask you if you had any final words for Jam Dog, what would they be?
Let's lay it all in the ring for Sean, and then we'll leave it in the ring.
When you step into the building on Saturday, what will that be like for you?
Emotional, exciting, and a walk down memory lane. And what if I could have at some point, because I didn't have a clue Sean Duffy was wrestling.
You mentioned that basically you had no idea when you did the video on the CCW Facebook page. It was like stunning, more or less.
Yeah. So I wish down the line we could have had that match. Because at my physical best, I can throw around and beat the guy, you know, lay it in with a guy as hard as he can, you know. So, I, from what I understand, Shaw's family will be there as well as mine. So, it's going to be very, very emotional.
If you had one or two moments in your career that stood out most so far, what would they be?
My very first match in 2002 and this one. I've told Jam, I said this is the biggest match of my career.
You said it here on the air. I asked you the question. You were like, this is the biggest. You basically said it a little while ago. I mean, so because of just the emotions, this is a tribute match, basically. This is, like when we saw Eddie Guerrero die and there was a tribute match with Rey Mysterio and Shawn Michaels all those years ago. I mean, we see this, this is a tribute match. This is for somebody that, we're going to remember this and go down memory lane for a long time on, for sure.
Yeah. So, I'll catch up with him again. I'll see him again, brother. Not in this lifetime, though.
He's looking down though, and he's looking from above and watching, and he's going to be smiling. I have no doubt. If you would, before I get to closing thoughts, if you would have any advice to any up and coming wrestlers that are watching, we get a lot of up and comers, a lot of people that are just starting out as well that come onto the platform and watch us. What advice would you give to those particular wrestlers, or any wrestler in general?
Find a reputable school, because when I started, there was no school.
Reynaldo went to Canada. Reynaldo, who started, you said 02, he was 04, right out of college. He could not find a wrestling school here. He's from near Lancashire. He had to go to Canada. He went to into Ontario, outside. I think it was either Hamilton or Windsor. He learned from.
And get your fundamentals correct, because it's your fundamentals that prevent injury and get you through a lot of the match. And I see a lot I'm not knocking anyone, but I see a lot of guys now too concerned with, doing certain moves and whatnot. If you can master your basic bumps, then you can take any move. Because they all boil down to the same move, bump.
I've heard that often, and there's no question that we certainly agree on.
Oh, by the way,
yes.
Did you like my pile driver?
I did actually. Yes, I watched it. You're talking about in the match you had with Rude and DCT. Absolutely, yeah.
No, the other one where I've got the red on.
Yes, I did that. That I saw as well. Yes, you sent me that one. Yes, I did. Yes, I did like that. Yes. No, listen, I'm excited for this match because you are definitely somebody that I think that we're in for a real treat. We're in for a real treat of a wrestling match. And before I get to closing thoughts, I want to say hello to my buddy A-Dog. A to the D to the double OG is going to be here in the 10-person battle royal. And some people think he's going to win it. Dustin Hart said he thinks he can win it. He says, good evening, gentlemen. I can feel it in my bones that all Soog and Champ Dog are going to do Mr. Carnage proud Saturday, all in the honor of Carnage. Absolutely. I could not agree with you on all of that. Obviously, Mr. A to the D O double G. Definitely looking forward to seeing what you do in the ring this Saturday. And some people think you may win it, but we'll certainly see. It's a great field. We have Johnny Flashbacks in it, Hybrids in it, the Tribal Cheese in it, Bat Pigeon is in it. I mean, Alfie Nerds is in it. I mean, it's a great list of people. And of course, Ronnie Thatcher, of course, our dear friend Ronnie Thatcher is in it. So we'll certainly see everything else that's going to happen. I could ask you many more things, but I know that we've got to get ready for Saturday. I'm going to see you on the air tomorrow. We're going to certainly say anything else you want about Mr. Carnage. Then you'll be here with us once again. So I want to I'll put it out there.
You can ask me many more things now if you like. I'm not going anywhere.
Well, I think that the general context of the conversation tonight was we got your side of the story about Jam Dog. We got a sense of who you are, your career. We've gotten a sense of your accomplishments. We've
Yeah.
gotten to know that you're going to be in CCW. We've gotten
Mm,
to know how much Mr. Carnage has meant to you. We've gotten a chance to know a little bit of the personality, what you bring to the table. And I think obviously tomorrow we're going to see you back on the air also to talk about Mr. Carnage for a little bit. We're going to let everybody from the locker room that wants an opportunity to say something, they're welcome. So I think some of this is going to cross back over to tomorrow. And obviously, you're welcome anytime to come on to Sportswire Radio. So I have no doubt
no.
that, you're going to come on. Because I know you did a podcast a couple of years ago, but I think this one, I think people are going to remember this one far more than the one you did a few years back because, well, you
Yeah,
carried me
yeah.
on this time. But
I'd
obviously,
just like to thank you for inducting me there for Sugar Ray Taylor, dear.
oh,
It's a
listen,
huge honor.
you know what? And the next time you're going to come on, which is why I want to save some of the stories, is you come on Sportswire the next time, maybe or maybe not. You have the hardcore title, but you'll be in the Hall of Fame next time because we're also going to go even further because we're going to do it next month also. We're inducting CCW as a whole into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. So, I mean, it's going to be, one for the ages. Miners Mania is our biggest show, and we're going to actually go the step further and before the show itself and induct CCW into the Hall of Fame. And obviously, we're going to induct you in the Hall of Fame. Dustin Hart's going to get inducted as
Wow.
well next month. So we want to make sure that we continue this, but also continue it for the legacy of Mr. Carnage, Sean Duffy, a true living legend and somebody that we miss dearly, but we honor him and we remember him each and every day that we have a chance. Sugar Ray Taylor, I want to now give you the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts and anything else you may want to plug, share, or say. And the floor is yours, my friend. Be my guest. And anything else you want to say, I turn it over to you.
Well, I'm not wanting to plug things, but I just want to say I miss Sean every day. He's left a huge hole in my heart, and I'm just so proud to be a part of CCW. I really am. I had offers from everywhere, but I said no. The only other place I will work is, I won't name them, but a affiliated company in Scotland.
Okay. I think I kind of know that clue, but I'm going to leave that there. But I'm so glad that you said, though, before we sign off, I just want to put it out there one more time as the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportswire Radio, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters, the Reverend Tom Bryson. You said that you wanted to be here and be here in CCW because I've heard so many people that they said, oh, well, this person told me I couldn't go to CCW because I wouldn't get booked. And this person said, this is what they said to me. Don't cover CCW because of, this person said that and they've done this. And I said specifically then, and I'll say it until I no longer have a voice, that CCW will always have a home on Sportswire Radio. CCW always has my full support. And to hell with anybody that doesn't want us to cover CCW. And the hell with anybody else that says because of quote unquote clicks out there and the toxic nature of politics that they don't want to come to CCW. That's on them. That's their loss because CCW is for people like Sugar Ray Taylor. CCW is for people like the Tribal Cheese. CCW is for people like Hybrid. CCW is for people like Davey Blaze. And we can go on and on and on and on because CCW is definitely where you should be following on all of their platforms. At Instagram at Colombia Championship _wrestling. Twitter at CCW UK NE caps locks. YouTube CCW UK Northeast. Facebook Colombia Championship Wrestling. CCW Coming Out Championship Wrestling. Shout out to Taylor Truths. Also Carnage Championship Wrestling. Follow all those groups. Join them. Join it because all wrestling matters here in CCW. My friend, it has been an absolute honor to have you on. I
Can I just
cannot
say
wait
one
to
more
watch
thing?
Saturday. Yeah, you can say anything you want. You're Sugar Ray Taylor.
All of those people that, you hear about, oh, don't go to CCWA. Nobody has said a word to me because they know different.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And you
They
know what?
get
Those
it.
people that have
They
said it,
get.
by the way,
We've got a
those.
phrase in England. They get a warm ear. Oh,
This is I mean this is I you know what I can't say enough about how awesome it is to have you in TCW, and I also want to say even those people that said things, they're irrelevant anyway. Nobody knows who they are. So at the end of the day, frig 'em. That's the best thing I'll say in the nicest way I could say it. But I'm glad that we got Sugar Ray Taylor here. I'm glad he's going to be wrestling this Saturday. I cannot wait to watch your match. I cannot wait to talk about it. I cannot wait to have you back on next month, induct you in the Hall of Fame. I cannot wait to see what the future brings and just maybe bring a Carnage Hardcore Championship to already your decorated resume, which has led you to all over the world, obviously alongside the likes of Leon Slater, Rampage Brown, Marty Jones, Screwface Ahmed, everybody else in between. What you've done for this sport, and now to see you here home in CCW, I can't wait. I'm so excited. And before we sign off here, I want to say hello to my buddy, Mr. Oman Black. He is the boogeyman of the Midwest. He is the IMF Hardcore Champion, and he is also making his waves out there. And obviously, Mr. Black is in our Hall of Fame. It is jokingly his show on Sportswire Radio, but we want to say hello to Omen, and you never say never, and maybe Omen will maybe come to CCW, maybe Mr. Barris will he's got you, he's got Davey Blaze, and maybe Omen will get his chance to come here to CCW. He already may have a match with Tribal Cheese, maybe he'll see you down the road in the ring, but all that great stuff,
maybe.
and he's a Hall of Famer. You're going to be a Hall of Famer, and I just want to say, on behalf of this business and on behalf of this sport, for everything that you've done, I just want to thank you. Thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you for everything that you've done for Sunderland. Thank you for everything that you've done for our country here in the UK. Thank you for everything that you've done for wrestling. Thank you for everything that you've done in making all wrestling matters. And thank you for allowing us today on February 22nd to recognize you on all of our platforms for it to be Sugar Ray Taylor Day. And also, thank you for allowing us to honor our friend, our brother, our mentor, and the reason that we love CCW and Mr. Carnage, Sean Duffy. And I know I'm going to see you tomorrow where we're going to talk a lot more from everybody in the locker room about Mr. Carnage and what he meant. And I will have a speech at the beginning of the show. I'm already going to start working on it. So we'll have that as well. And I know the family is out there. I just want to say hello to Mr. Carnage's family. And I definitely want to say thank you for allowing us to honor him. I know it took a lot for them to say, yes, Sportswire can allow Mr. Carnage in the Hall of Fame. And I want to thank James and Ronnie for facilitating that, because it was their leadership to say, yes, we want this to happen. So I really want to say just how much that, I will certainly, make sure that all of that will certainly be talked about and some. Thank you so much for everything you've done. I will see you tomorrow. I will see you
See you
real
tomorrow,
soon.
brother.
And God bless. Ladies and gentlemen, that was here the one and only Sugar Ray Taylor. And tell all your mates he's going to be in the ring this Saturday for the Carnage Hardcore Championship in a match to honor our fallen brother, Mr. Carnage, Sean Duffy. It's going to be in him and Jam Dog. Jam Dog was recently most inducted into our Hall of Fame as our newest member. And he's going to be here also tomorrow night as at 8 o'clock British Standard Time. We are going to honor the one and only Mr. Carnage, Sean Duffy, into our Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters here. If you're on sportswireradio.org, you're going back to your regularly scheduled programming. If you're on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, I'll be back here at 9 o'clock to have on Brandon Castelli, who rocks hard and is the Mauler. He's going to talk about another match that we're actually supporting for next week. It's a tribute match also for a young woman that has Ewing sarcoma. And Brandon's going to talk about that here. His match against Van Hansen at Amplified Enterprise Wrestling's match, Fight for a Cure. And it's going to be another match to, again, honor a young girl fighting Ewing sarcoma. So we do our best to support everybody around the world in the community. And I've endorsed the show. I've donated to it. So just like we've done here, we'll continue to always support all wrestling that matters. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. On the number one, the global radio station is Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters. CC Dub, CC Dub, CC Dub, CC Dub. Thank you.